Is this the Trademark Office trying to rip you off? They have inflated their fees significantly. Do they just not want small business owners to be able to protect their trademarks? This was already such a difficult and expensive process, and now it is that much more difficult. I swear I'm trying not to make this a Dear Trademark Office video, but that might be my next video. So I was already a little fired up in regards to the trademark making changes to fees. Significant, substantial changes to you guys obtaining trademark registrations, which we talk about all the time about how important they are. Trademarks are one of the most valuable assets that you can ever own because as you are continuing to grow, your business endeavors, your creative things, and even if your creative things are under your name legally, your trademark, your brand is your name. So, what are trademarks? Trademarks are the brand identifiers for your stuff. Okay, so it might be a name, a logo, and we can even expand beyond that. It can be a smell, a sound. Oftentimes, what we're filing for protection is within the realm of like a text name or a logo. So, where do you file? Well, if you live in a state in the United States, you can file in your state and you can get a state registration, but the protection is just for that state. So, what we generally want you to do is to get a registration at the federal level because then you have protection in the whole of the United States. And so you have way better coverage. And then, practically speaking, as a trademark attorney, I can tell you there are additional benefits. We get to take you to court and file lawsuits on your behalf because you have that piece of paper. But then also, practically speaking, man, does it make a difference for getting things taken down off of the internet. If you don't have a little piece of paper saying you're the trademark owner, it is way more difficult. For example, if you come to me and you go, hey, someone is using my name on Instagram, or they're using something substantially similar, it's a very similar name. The difference of me going and getting that Instagram page removed, deleted, is the difference of like an hour versus never ever. So you having that piece of paper and actually getting the registration is something that's going to really protect you long term, but also goes into just the value of your brand as it continues to become more and more valuable over time. Okay, so I give that context just to help you guys to understand as a practitioner, this is so very important. Which brings me to my, well, is the Trademark Office trying to rip you off now? Because they have inflated their fees significantly, and these changes go into effect on January 18th, 2025. So let me just show you the USPTO website. This is the place that you go to file to get your trademark registration. All right, so USPTO, United States Patent and Trademark Office, and they have a little page here, which is the summary of all of the new fees, which we're going to take a peek at together. The thing is, these fees have not changed just yet. We have a tiny bit of time, but the thing is that this is not going to be retroactive because here's the thing. One of the common questions that you guys have is, well, how long does this whole process take? It's going to be how much is it, which we're going to talk, but it's also how long is it going to take? And that's a piece of this where I'm like, it takes a long time. It's a big deal because of how much time and money already that had to go into this. Okay, so on the time frame, I mean, typically we don't hear back from the USPTO for something like 8 to 9 months on average. So meaning you call me up, Krystle, put together paperwork, let's get it filed, rush, 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 and then we wait. And then in like 8 months, we'll get some kind of response, either being like, great, application looks great, pushing it through, and then you still have to wait like another 3 months for them to publish it and do all these things. Or they come back and they go, actually, there's a little bit of a hiccup here. And then, if you have an attorney, if we're representing you, whoever, but like if you have someone to help you through it, perfect. That's always been my biggest argument. I'm like, when it comes to copyright applications, which is protecting like a creative thing, it's different. Trademarks have to do with the source of a brand, a good, right? Like a song, who made the song versus copyright protects the song. But anyway, we're like, filing copyright stuff. I've showed you guys how to do copyright registrations on this channel, like, because it's a lot easier. These are government websites. Government websites are not intuitive or easy in general, but trademark filings are way more complicated. And so I just wouldn't even feel comfortable trying to show how to do this process because there's just so many nuances and it's a whole thing. So what I do say is I'm like, if you're going to do this, you want to make sure you do it right. And this is what I was saying anyway up until now. And now it's just like even more important. But I'm like, you have to do it right, because if you don't do it right, they're going to come back and they're going to say all these problems. And then you literally will lose all your money because you did it wrong. And then they're like, sorry, you can't fix some of this stuff and you have to start over. So, in any case, what we do know about is that these fees will spike starting January 18th. So, if you are going to file, you definitely want to do it before this happens. I'll show you how significant these, fee changes are. If you're in the process of something right now, and there are some additional things that have to happen, you're not essentially going to be like grandfathered in. Does that make sense? So if you have, let's say, a final office action that you responded to, and they come back and they go, actually, we are putting the rubber stamp on it, we're denying you. So you have one, you can do you can request reconsideration. Again, what I'm saying is that at that point on January 18th, all the fees go up. So anyway, if you need to file something, the note is please do it as soon as possible. But this is also why I really strongly encourage what I call a knockout search. So the knockout search is something that even you can do, and I'll give you the quick little how to do it yourself. Okay. My office does it. We recommend it just across the board because I go, for you to invest your time, your money into this process that really is just so important. You want to get your trademark registration for your creative name, your brand, your company. Before you go through the whole process, you need to make sure that you have a high likelihood of registration. So we go through this little process to just make sure that there isn't a pre-existing registration out there in the land of the internet or otherwise already registered with the USPTO, because then it's a huge waste of your time and money. But essentially what you're going to do is you can go to the USPTO website. In fact, let me just show you right now. If you go to the actual USPTO website up here in the top right corner, you can go find it fast. And it goes, there's a trademark search function. So let's open this up. And then you can put in some searches for words and just try to see if there is a name already registered in association with the type of things that you're trying to do. If you're an entertainer, right, that would be class 41. So you see if there's a class 41. If you are doing clothing, right, so you have merch, that would be class 25. So you can just kind of take a peek there and then literally go on the internet, go on social media platforms, go on music platforms, if that's what you do, scour everywhere. And that essentially is what a knockout search is. Okay. So you want to do the knockout search and just determine whether this is a good investment. So now, what are all the changes? Let's take a peek at this freaking website. All right, summary of 2025 trademark fee changes. The final rules sets and adjusts all our fees starting on January 18th, 2025. And these are what they are. So previously, and I should say as of recording this, the way it works is that right now there's 2 different applications that you can file. Okay. And with those different applications, there are different fees. It's either $250 or $350. Now, the difference is in whether you use your own description or you use a one that is actually provided by the USPTO. So the way this works, and I'll just, I'll be honest about what kind of I do with my office. It's very similar to what a lot of trademark attorneys do, but essentially it's $850. It's $850 for an application because you have to go through, you put together like a whole package for the process. And then you have to get specimens, and then you have to get sometimes statements and disclaimers and all the good stuff. And then you go through and you file it. And hopefully your representation did a really good job, and hopefully you can just get on through and won't have any issues, okay? So that is the putting it together fee, which is separate from the filing fee. So sometimes when we're doing these and there's a description that we can just grab from the USPTO, there's the lower filing fee of the $250. So that's good news, right? Well, what they're doing now is this. So they're taking away the $250. It's not even an option anymore. And they're making the base $350, but they're not going to stop here. Okay, this is really important. So meaning every class is $350. And a little refresher, when we say a class, you don't just get a trademark, right? So if Topo, I love mineral water. So this is Topo Chico. If Topo Chico wanted to register, we go, well, the class would be in the realm of mineral carbonated water in glass bottles. And so we figure out the different classes, and they might also sell t-shirts, and they also, I don't know what they do. So let's pretend there were different classes. It's $350 times each class. So that's why if you're like, hey, Krystle, I want to file and I need to do like 3 or 4 classes, it gets really expensive. So again, this is why, we just make sure to do the research. But anyway, this is not where it ends. It's not just $350 now. Okay, so they go, these are the base fees, but look at this. Now there's a new fee. if there is insufficient information, we're tacking on a fee of $100 per class. So not only are they now tacking on this new fee where they didn't do this before, when they would send, let's say, it's called an office action. And so the office action would be like, hey, we have a couple problems and we need you to like clarify this or clarify that. They would just send this to you. And then unfortunately, you do have to usually pay whoever is representing you. So there is some more fees that come into it. But the USPTO didn't charge you for that process, and now they are. And now they're doing it. It's $100 times each class. Most of the time you guys want like 2 or 3 different classes. So now we're at $450. Oh boy, I mean that's definitely a hike. And then they go, well, and also it's a $200 fee, right? Per class if you need a special description. In the USPTO index, they'll give you a bunch of different descriptions that you can select. And a lot of times you have to go in, we go in and we have to write something special up because what you guys are doing is different. It's not just like performs music live. It's like, no, you're class 41, you're a live performer, you do podcasts, you're an influencer. So we have to go in and like write something in that's special. So what they're saying is like, well, if you do that, it's now going to be $200 extra per class. So even in the base application, we're at like 550. So it went from potentially 250 up to 550, right? For one class. So we go, okay, does it stop there? Oh, no, it does not. And so if you also have a really long description that's over 1,000 characters, it's 200 a class. So, I mean, guys, we're getting real up there all of a sudden. So this is going to make a huge difference for someone who is a small business owner. Because this is or like already saying like, hey, $1,000 with the initial government filing fee and our office's fee and whatever, like that's a lot of money. And that's why we like really do the search and make sure before we do all of this because it's a big investment. But now you're telling me it's going to be like $1,500, $2,000. Boy, is that quite the hike. All right, so where else did we change? We also see then the fee descriptions. So you have to renew your trademark, for example. So between years 5 and 6, that's the first renewal. It's going up by $100. So it goes from $225 to $325 per class. This is where they're going to get you per class. So it's really quite the detriment to you to, having multiple classes. We talked about if you need to revive an application. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier. I go, if you're in the middle of your trademark registration process and you need to now revive it because something happened, like it lapsed, whatever, you want to file a letter to protest, right? So we see again, it went up 150 to 250. Here, the letter to protest went up from 50 to 150. And then lastly, a statement of use. This is going to hurt the most, I think, for most people because it went from $100 to $150. You're like, oh, it's only $50. Well, I mean, that's 50%. It went up 50%. And the statement of use, you file if you go Krystle. I am planning to launch my new project, but I don't have the trademark just yet. Like I'm not using it. I don't have my songs released. I don't have my merch done. What we can do is called an intent to use application. So we go, hey, Trademark Office, we're not currently selling the music or the shirts, but we're gonna. So what we can do is file to get the name. And then when you actually start using it, we basically filed what's called this statement of use saying, hey, we're using it now. We release the songs, we release the merch, okay? And again, they've hiked up the fee. So I go back to my question is this the Trademark Office trying to rip you off? Do they just not want small business owners to be able to protect their trademarks on a national basis? This was already such a difficult process. This was already such an expensive process for people to have to go through. And now it is that much more difficult. And then, I'm just coming off of a day where I was literally dealing with the USPTO and really frustrated because I had to escalate something up to the higher management and they told me to go pound sand over an issue they literally made a determination on and then did a 180 later on. I'm this close to bringing it to this channel to discuss because I'm extremely frustrated about it. And at some point, so you just have to open up your mouth and just see what you can get done. So guys, I just want to make you aware of this. So like, these are your takeaways. What do we do now, right? What you do is number one, if there is something that you need to get filed, please just go and get it done before January 18th. It's a very short window, but it's going to make a big difference to your bank account. So that's number one. That's new applications for trademarks, that's renewing, filing your statements of use, whatever you need to do, please make sure you get it done, okay? And then the other piece of this is that obviously, wherever possible, work with your attorney to use the ID Manual, because as you can see, if you're going to put in special little descriptions, you are really going to pay through the nose for it. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Do you have your trademarks in motion? Maybe you already have registrations. Either way, leave a comment down below and I'll see you on the next one.